Amara's journey along the fourth chakra green path of opening to love. Amara is a beautiful, dynamic, deep, spiritual woman who comes from a wealthy family that is privileged and highly politically connected. She is highly spiritual and connected to the principles of yoga, Vedanta, Buddhism, Hinduism, and various other Eastern religions and philosophies. She has a rich understanding of karma, astrology, karmic patterns, shamanism, and nature. She had experienced many deep spiritual journeys and processes that had revealed insight into her past lives. She found me through my Awakening Intuition online e-course, which she found to be very helpful in illuminating her access to her past life information. She shared with me one of the more significant journeys she had experienced, in which she was able to see herself in the distant past as a trusted advisor to the authority, where she was attempting to get them to understand about a trap that was being laid for her town. Her town was exceptional in that it had prospered highly during 3 centuries of peace. The people enjoyed an idyllic lifestyle of abundance and stability and peace. She had been the advisor to the ruler for many decades and brought her unique gifts to the ears of the powerful. She had been warned that fear would cause the downfall of the town and had been hyper-vigilant each time this demon raised its ugly head. Her psychic visions had allowed her to gain insight into the bigger picture of what was happening. There had been fear of invasion in a neighboring town that needed the extra protection of her townsmen. This fear caused those in power to make poor choices about their own well-being, which is something that fear consistently does, and they allowed their men and the town's protection to go elsewhere. This, of course, left her town's women and children vulnerable, and their own town open to invasion. She knew that others viewed her and her community as a problem because she was so powerful, and she had been targeted as a witch. She had a reputation for being powerful in her capacity for compassion and unconditional love, and advised the authority with this power for a long time. She had contributed to the great success of the town. It had been rumored that she had the much coveted and highly elusive 2 hearts, the second being just to the right of the first, and possessing the quality of unconditional love, which is a reality on an energetic level. The heart chakra actually has 2 orbs, 2 energetic locations. Myth had propagated the idea that if you steal that extra heart, you could easily embody its qualities. She had the foresight to know what was coming as the men marched away and her warnings went unheeded. This time the fear was too great, greater than the capacity for wisdom of the community to prevail, and poor choices were made. Fear had won its battle with the light, and she and the town were left vulnerable to attack. The following day they came in their thousands, and it didn't take long for 3 of them to chase her down, pin her to the ground, rip open her side, pull apart her ribs, reach inside, and rip out her heart. Amara actually recalled how this felt and relived this entire experience in a regression session. As difficult as that was to re-experience, she actually felt a reclamation of essential energy after the process. It was as if this remembering actually liberated her from the wound itself and allowed her to heal and rebalance her energy. which of course is exactly what these processes do. She also shared with me that her astrological chart had revealed to her that this lifetime was about coming into her power, and that journey for her was intimately connected to her romantic relationships and the integration of her sexual energy with her fierceness and her unconditional love. Some years ago, she had been strongly attracted to Crete and could not resist the urge to visit. She arrived at the site of the Palace of Knossos and felt an instant recognition, a sense of and feeling of returning home. After completing the tour, so many flashes of recognition had occurred that she felt certain that the past life she had re-experienced was here in Crete. So much of the information that she had gathered confirmed this reality, to the point that she was able to clearly see what had caused the downfall of this utopian society. After the tsunami hit, the people lost their faith, their innocence, and their trust in life. This led them to fall into a fear-based group consciousness and society, which eroded their strength and left them vulnerable to invasion from Greece, a much less evolved society at the time. Amara felt that the reason she was so compelled to help people overcome their fear was because she witnessed the downfall of her beloved utopian community and was heartbroken to witness exactly how destructive fear was. Amara seemed to always be in relationship, and these relationships were aligned with her spiritual growth. By flowing with synchronicity, she was able to connect with her erotic soulmates. This supported her into the evolutionary edges of her soul, but brought her straight into somewhat psychologically unhealthy, but spiritually necessary experiences. This time, she found someone who was living on the edge of going to prison for a minor offense alongside a felony past. So it added up to a second strike for him, and to him potentially having the book thrown at him. Through his last breakup, he caused some damage to the property that he shared with his partner at the time and managed to navigate himself into a restraining order that forced a premature close on a relationship that had not yet naturally completed. Amara's edges of growth reside in learning how to respond differently in the center of conflict, instead of reacting with fear and her usual automatic self-protective mechanisms that can only create separation and distance. She needed to learn that she can expand into creating enough space to give her choices. This way, she may be able to respond with the compassion that she can so effortlessly extend to her clients and has, as yet, been unable to extend to her partners. Her habitual pattern was one of responding with anger whenever her partners entered into their fear-based patterns. A teacher of compassion who was unable to extend compassion to the person that she loved the most when they are lost in their wound, in their illusion, and in their fear. Seeing her partner in fear re-stimulated her and triggered her into a need to fight for clarity, which only resulted in her partners consistently shutting down, which resulted in truth being eluded, polarity, and ultimately separation happening. She had also entered the question of whether or not she kept herself small and disconnected from her potential by connecting with men who would anchor in survival issues and prevent her from flourishing into her creative projects, which were too numerous to mention. This, of course, is a function of a contracted and fearful mind and heart. This particular crisis in relationship had brought her to herself with deeper, more searching questions that forced her to reevaluate everything that she thought she had known about herself. This is not unusual when we are confronted with the edges of our deepest spiritual growth. She noticed that her creativity actually increased each time she got connected to intensity, instability, and chaos in relationships. She wanted peace, passion, love, and creativity together, and secretly feared that this may not be possible. She wanted an experience of life that was fully alive, yet felt unclear about how to achieve that aliveness and intensity without destruction. She was aware of the Buddhist concept of relaxed wakefulness and wondered if this truly was the path to attaining her full potential. She wondered if this was really available to her without being a devout practitioner. She wanted to learn how to respond differently, with compassion instead of anger, fear, judgment, and disdain, each time her partner lost himself inside his own patterns, inside his own fear. A handy excuse for her to be consumed with something other than dealing with her own pattern, her own illusions, her own fear. It's amazing the lengths we will go to avoid confronting the edges of our own internal growth. We literally create destruction and devastation in our lives and those that we love over confronting ourselves. Our fear of going inside is so great. We fear the same experience of overwhelm we had in our history, sweeping us up in tornadoes of emotion that we assume we cannot successfully navigate, let alone eventually master. This fear, this assumption, is the cause of most addictions and self-protective mechanisms that create distance and separation, pain and heartbreak, even death. She came to me to ensure that she had nowhere to hide this time, and she truly wanted to be liberated from this trap that created nothing but unhappiness and separation from love, her love for herself, and her love for her lover and her life. As we moved towards examining her mental patterns, there were many clues that lay in the foundation and the information uncovered in the past life regressions. The time spent in Crete had left such a huge imprint on her soul, the idea that she had to eradicate all fear whenever she encountered it in others. She had pinpoint clarity in identifying it, revealing it, and supporting it and transforming it. This mechanism served her well in her work, but in her personal relationships it took on a different form that was much more problematic and disruptive. For her, this mechanism took on a very self-critical and judgmental edge. Whenever fear arose in herself and her partners, instead of being supportive and compassionate, she became frustrated and judgmental. This lack of compassion and empathy indicates a deficiency in the heart chakra. Because of her deep connection to her wounds, I asked what she thought her negative cycle of thought might be, to see how closely that aligned with her subconscious expression. She was able to identify that she was afraid of losing herself inside the chaos and destruction of her partner, and she felt trapped inside a prison of limitation and loneliness, away from the world of possibilities that she could connect with when she was not inside this stress. As always with fourth chakra wounding, an essential healing affirmation to ground the energy in truth is you are the master of your emotions. As with all my clients, after lots of observation, it is easy to recognize the energy that is highly charged and carrying a strong creative potential. In this case, Amara was so afraid of losing love that the possibility of creating that outcome becomes almost inevitable. Here is how the conversation with Amara's subconscious went. The thing I'm most afraid of is having my heart broken. And the reason why is I wouldn't survive it. And the reason why is death. And the reason why is I will be unloved and alone. And the reason, because I'm so angry. And the reason I'm so angry is because I've been judged. And the reason I've been judged is because I'm not lovable. And the reason I'm not lovable is because I judge. And the reason I judge is because people get it wrong. And the reason people get it wrong is because I'm afraid that I'm not lovable or loved. Amara managed to get right to the root of the pattern quickly. It was so close to the surface and she was so ready to be free from the pattern, as it was also consistent with what she was aware of consciously. We went to the opposite positive along with the 4 chakra affirmations, and this is a script that we created for a healing journey. You are strong, and you really are able to endure any emotional experience with grace and courage. You really can endure any emotional challenge and be better for the experience. You know that when you get hurt, you heal perfectly well and remain whole and become stronger. You now surrender to divine love and trust and know that you are perfectly loved and lovable already as you are. You've learned how to respond effectively to emotional challenges so that you're always in charge of your choices. You're free of judgments and free of the good opinion of others. You allow people to be themselves and experience what they need to experience to get to where they are going on their own journey. You allow your partners to experience the full spectrum of their emotions, and you trust they will arrive at the end point that serves them best. You surrender to love and trust in yourself and in others. You now fully allow yourself to give and receive love. You feel your heart opening to allow love to flow throughout your body, throughout your life, and into all of your relationships. Your loving potential is limitless, and you now commit to realize your potential. It is safe for you to love with all the love that is in your heart. It is safe for you to receive love in all its various forms. You surrender to receiving all the love in the universe. You are worth loving. You have a kind and compassionate heart that is safe for you to share with the world. After about 2 weeks into her program, Amara was exposed to what it was like to be on the receiving end of her pattern. Very often when we invite change, the universe supports our positive intention and so reveals all the obstacles to change. Her boyfriend supported the final liberation of her pattern through conscious choice. He got mad at her for being in her fear. Witnessing him do this hurt her so much that she vowed never to do that again, never to him or anyone else. This choice allowed her to raise her unconscious pattern into the level of conscious choice, which is ultimately where we all need to arrive in order for full liberation to happen. It happened beautifully, clearly, and directly for Amara. The tools and the practices that I provide in this program support you in being armed with awareness and fortified with nutritious thinking and feeling patterns, so that when confronted with an opportunity in life to make a choice, you are ready and able to do so. If you feel you want the MP3s and the yoga videos that support you in deepening your own fourth chakra alignment, these are all available to you at a discounted rate, and you can proceed to the end now to see these offers if you feel like they will serve you. As you progress down the path of rebalancing this chakra, you support yourself in reclaiming any lost inspiration towards love and intimacy. This energy will naturally emerge as you confront and integrate all the injuries from your past that caused you to build the walls of self-protection. You will find yourself feeling motivated and interested in moving towards romantic opportunities. The courage that is necessary to take this leap of faith will emerge, and you will be strengthened and energized inside the vulnerability of falling in love.